Hey, this is Corey from Woodcraft, and we are going to be talking about camping and woodcraft by Horst Kefhart, a handbook for vacation campers and for travelers in the wilderness. 2 volumes in one. So there are 2 volumes. I have them marked here. Volume 1 is camping, so volume 2 is woodcraft. And so this is 2 books in one. And so I'm pretty sure you can buy these separate. You can buy Camping and Woodcraft Volume 1 and Camping and Woodcraft Volume 2. This one's set up in Volume 1 is Camping, Volume 2 is Woodcraft. I like having 2 in 1. But this book is very influential on me. This is a book that I very much enjoyed. I named my channel Wolfpack Woodcraft because this book kind of simulates everything that I wanted my channel to represent. And so this is a very important book. And a lot of people ask me, what is woodcraft? And so in Canada, in Europe, in Australia, people head off into the bush. They go into the bush and they practice bushcraft. Here in the United States, we head off into the woods and we practice woodcraft. And so it's essentially the exact same thing. It's just we go into the woods, you guys head off into the bush. It's the same thing. And the thing about this book that really influenced me is, number one, it was written over 100 years ago. This book was written in 1917, and so it's over 100 years old, and it's all about vacation campers and travelers in the wilderness. And so it's about being comfortable and enjoying your time in nature. So Wolfpack Woodcraft's all about using outdoor gear to be comfortable in any situation. This book kind of influenced that. This is one of the very first books that I got, and it influenced me, and that is something that I really hold dear, being comfortable in the woods, enjoying yourself in the woods, because even though this book doesn't talk about it, one of the things that really hit me is this book is 100 years old, and as you're reading it, almost all of it is still true today, and that got me thinking, modern technology and the modern way of living is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. 20 years ago is completely different than what we have today, right? Everything is constantly moving forward, changing, developing, but nature is exactly the same. A river's a river, a lake is a lake, a tree is a tree, a duck is a duck, a wolf is a wolf, a bear is a bear, the sun's the sun, a fire is a fire. There isn't modern fire. There isn't modern ducks. You know what I mean? Everything is exactly the same as it was 100 years ago. And as long as we protect it and preserve it, it's going to maintain being exactly the same 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. It will always be the same, which to me means that if we can find comfort in nature, we will always be comfortable. There will always be a place for us to go as long as we don't wreck it. There will always be a place for us to go where we can find comfort and be as comfortable as possible, because it's always going to be the same. And so that's what this channel kind of represents. This is kind of my main focus for the channel, and this book really influenced me a lot. And so I'm going to be using my chart so I don't give it a 10 out of 10 for no reason. But just know that this is a book that really, I really enjoy this book, okay? So let's go through the checks though. Time spent. Was it worth the time spent reading? This is a big book. It took me a very long time to read this. And there are pictures. And so, let's see. Of course, as soon as I need to find one, you can never find one. There are pictures. And so there are things that you can, there are things that break up the reading a little bit. And so it's not terrible, right? So there are pictures, and they do represent what you're reading. And so you can see what it is you're reading. You can tell what they are trying to accomplish. But even here, like the primitive shelters or tarp shelters, they're exactly the same back then as they are now. And it just blows my mind how everything's like pretty much the same. But you know how I like books that have blurbs, right? I read a little blurb, set it down, do something, come back, read a little blurb. This book does not do that. Meaning that you have to dedicate 20 minutes to a half hour reading the chapter. or you're going to lose your place. And so I had to dedicate time to it. It's not something that I could quick read here and there. I had to sit down and read this book. And again, it took me a really long time to read it, but I really enjoyed it. I really did. Like I did, it influenced me, but just know that you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to this book if it's something that you do plan on reading. And I'm talking about both volumes here, this book in general. Easy to read, easy to pick up and get into. For me, it was because I was so into it. I was just blown away about how similar everything was. Now, there are differences, but there's still, like when they talk about cooking pots, they talk about how your only two options are stainless steel, and, oh no, they don't. They talk about cast iron, stainless steel, and aluminum, okay? And how cast iron is awesome, but it's super heavy, and it's really durable, but it's almost too heavy to carry. Stainless steel is way more durable than aluminum, but it's still really heavy. Aluminum is really lightweight, but it's not as durable. And it talks about this, and it leaves out titanium because titanium cookware wasn't invented yet. And so you still get, it's still accurate information. It's still real. It still applies to today. It just is missing the titanium aspect. And there's other things in here where like the super steels, like CPM3V doesn't exist in 1917. And so, and if it did, then they weren't using it. And so it's still relevant information. It's still relevant and it's still true today, the information that's in here. But there are upgrades. There are things that, you know, you're going to read and you're going to be like, well, what about titanium? It's not in this book because it's just too old for that. But it is fascinating how similar everything still is. And so I really liked reading this book. What I learned is what I learned worth the time spent? Absolutely. Even when they talk about like the primitive shelters are exactly the same as we do now. Or not tents, but the tarp shelters, a lot of them are exactly the same as we use today. The wall tents, we use the same wall tents today as we did 100 years ago. But the travel tents, they didn't have like backpacking tents, they had travel tents. And so a lot of that stuff is different now because again, we have much lighter, more durable tents, pop-up tents and everything. And so some of those things are different, but everything else that you learn in this book is valuable information. There's so much good information in this book. I really like it. I really learned a lot from this book. And again, it focuses on vacation campers, not people that are roughing it, not survival, going out and enjoying yourself in nature. So it's not going to have these doomsday situations. It is going to talk about being prepared. It is going to talk about making sure that you are buying the right gear for you and your situation. So it does talk about preparedness, but it doesn't really focus on survival. It talks more about avoiding the situations than having to deal with the situations, which again is something I really like. And so keep that in mind. Do I enjoy happy to add to the collection? I'm very happy to add this collection. I've only read it once. I've only read it cover to cover one time. But every once in a while I'll pick it up and I'll either start reading it again or I'll find a picture that catches my eye and then I'll start reading that chapter or I might look something up in here. And so yeah, I just really, really like this book. Aesthetics, Nature and Appreciation for Beauty. It is a great book. I showed you some of the pictures. Let's see if I can find it quick. There are a lot of really good pictures in here that describe what it is you're looking at, but there's also like how to. So here's one, like how to use a tarp to make a tent. So it has the step-by-step pictures, and so the pictures aren't just there for decoration. They're there to assist you in different things. So here's wood burning stoves. And they're designed to help you see different things, help you build different things. So it is a really, really good book. I really do like it. But using my system here, it's only going to get an 8 out of 10. I think a lot of people aren't going to want this. I would suggest it. I think it's great, but I think a lot of people, they would rather have something more modern, something that talks about the differences between titanium, aluminum, and stainless steel, something that talks about more modern tents. And so if you are looking to get started and you want the most amount of information on what's available today, this book isn't going to do it for you. But if you are curious and you want to know how they used to do things, or how things used to be and how they differ from today, this is the book that's going to do it for you. This book has so much information in it. And like I said, it's just crazy how a lot of the stuff hasn't changed much. Like a wall tent is still a wall tent. The wood burning stoves that I just showed you are very, very similar to the wood burning stoves that we use today. The materials might have changed a little bit, but the designs and everything have stayed the same. And so I really like this book. But again, I don't think it's going to be for everyone. So with that being said, leave any knowledge or questions in the comment section. Make sure to thumbs up this video so that it spreads out and reaches the YouTube algorithm. And I can't wait to see you on my next video.